It's all about shared goals, vision, collaboration and trust. If we aren't aligned with the retailer or vice versa, we're both not going to get to where we need to go. You can't build on tailored customer in-house experiences if you haven't got the basics right.
Hi Sarah, welcome to the show.
Hi Emilia, so lovely to be here.
We're very happy to have you here. Okay, so let's begin. But before we dive in, let's start with your journey. I want to ask you what drew you into this world of luxury beauty and how did you get to where you are today?
Well, I started my career as a retail company cadet with the department store that was formerly called Grace Brothers, that is now Maya. And it was an incredible program, full-time, 3 years, learning all facets of retail operation. And of course, one of those portfolios, I was thrown into the world of beauty. And what I loved about it the most was the interaction between the retailer and the brand. And you were immersed in this world that I had never seen with any other category of product. So there was this desire of, one day I would love to be in that world. And it was stepping stones for me. So the first stepping stone was becoming a retail manager for the beauty floor. And that was awesome because you got to see so many different brands, some premium and some up to the uber luxe as we all know. And then from there, the defining moment was when I was tapped on the shoulder to ask to come and work for the Estee Lauder group of companies where my passion was found. And from there, as you described, quite a few brands that I have worked for. But in each one, it has been a new role, a challenge, and very much focused, within the retail and the sales function. But of course, everything has evolved. Direct to consumer is so important, and the savoir-faire and the interaction with the client is now a new level. And I find myself here. And I feel very excited to be able to share this with you.
Okay, so let's move into the category. Prestige beauty is often described as accessible luxury. We've all heard this term. But I feel like the current growth narrative is quite complex. So I want to jump straight in and ask you, for teams working in beauty today, what's the one shift in consumer behaviour they really should be paying attention to now?
Customer demand is real. Customer authority is incredible. They know everything. From all the social and digital platforms, they know everything about ethical sourcing, brand ingredients, the brand values. So they have a knowledge and an intimacy of the brand before they even walk in and actually see the bricks and mortar, so to speak. So what is the shift is that our beauty consultant, that is probably the best part of the community, they have to have an incredible authority, knowledge, and live the brand values as well. Otherwise, it's not authentic. The key here for me, especially with the brand that I'm now with, is the education department. And when I say education, it plays such a pivotal role because it empowers, enhances, and gives our beauty consultant the authority to be able to have that confidence, to be able to react and interact with the customer on a very personal level.
Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit and talk about scaling, because it's quite delicate in luxury, I believe. So luxury beauty is operating at a very different scale today, I think, from, thinking back on earlier parts of your career. We've got higher traffic, we've got higher expectations, and I feel like the complexity in stores increased somewhat as well. From your vantage point, in that reality, where do you see the greatest pressure in retail experience?
I believe the greatest pressure is all three. It's people, time, and pressure. And the key to be able to navigate this, especially in our stores, I'll make it really simple. We have to have super sharp, astute business managers that are able to read dashboards. When I say read dashboards, read sales reports, read the resource of the retail tools that they have, and they're able to pivot really quickly on a daily basis of where do we roster our teams, what additional services do we need to offer, and it's the small nuances that allow for beautiful efficiency to happen in the store. And again, a lot of training and expertise comes with that counter manager to be able to navigate this.
So in fact, you're using data and therefore insight quite heavily out of the sales reports.
Oh, totally, absolutely. Look, I could wax lyrical the 1,000,001 reports that we actually have, from internal to market share to our competition, and all of them are just so insightful, and we dissect these on a weekly, daily, basis. It's part of our strategy. But let me tell you, the most important one that we actually look at is the Net Promoter Score, called the NPS, because that really reveals to us, and it's no surprise, but is our customer happy? And so the customer actually tells us, are we providing them with the service, the experience, and the relationship that they expect? And we look at those because they tell us how is our beauty consultant actually communicating with them. Obviously, we always want high scores, but if we get a low score, that also allows us to be able to use that as an opportunity. So all the sales data in the world, absolutely, but it's the NPS that will give us that point of difference.
Is there anything else you can think of about what the best teams do differently in that moment when the pressure hits?
There has to be a confidence and an empowerment that the team feel that they are able to respond to that client. The one-to-one personal experience comes from the beauty consultant. So of course, if they have the confidence to be able to rectify, overcome objection, maybe not everything is perfect, that is the most powerful tool we can actually have our beauty consultant have.
Let's take a moment to talk about channels. Clearly, the world is obsessed with digital right now, but obviously the in-person experience, so the in-store environment, is still really critical. Can you talk to me a little bit about why that physical environment still matters?
I believe that the physical store has powerful strengths, and the strengths are probably in 3 categories. The first one is the sensorial experience. It touches all 5 senses. You're in a store, you smell, you can see, you can interact. You have an absolute overload of what the brand is about. The second one is probably the personal experience, and that is the interaction between the client and the beauty consultant. And it can go from just a transaction of I need this to a very meaningful relationship. And you only get that from a one-to-one in-person consultation. The third one is the brand storytelling. And what I mean by that is that you walk into a store and you see immediately the brand values, the heritage, the codes. You get the vibe of what the brand is all about. And I think between those 3 points, that's what makes bricks and mortar, that's what makes Parfums Christian Dior so desirable, because you are immersed in a beautiful world that Mr. Dior created.
Indeed, and fragrance is an interesting one because I feel like in other categories outside of luxury, there's a lot of browsing in store, experiencing in store, and then buying online. Do you see the same thing happening with Parfums Christian Dior or even with fragrance specifically?
Sure, and I think this is where the mindset of the omni-channel has to come into play. We would love for every customer to come into our store, experience the fragrance, receive a sample, and then of course, if it's not about purchasing at that moment to then be able to go online and have the seamless experience. I see the two go hand in hand. But there is nothing more beautiful than actually experiencing the fragrance firsthand, I have to say. And it's not only about the fragrance, if I can say, it's also about the ancillaries. It's about the body cream. It's about the hair fragrance. It's about even mixing your wardrobe of fragrances, which you actually can't do online.
I know, you're absolutely right. And your stores are just absolutely divine. And I have to agree with you. I think I've even switched colours or switched fragrance once I've been in store because of the sales consultant.
And how many times have you smelt someone and you go, oh my God, what is it that you are wearing? And I even do that today. Like I walk into the store and I'll say to the beauty consultant, what do you have on today? And they'll share, because you feel that you know all the fragrances, but you don't. But you hear how they do their nuances and how they actually tailor it to themselves. And that's what makes it so special.
So let's talk about retail partnerships, because so much of luxury beauty experiences now are happening outside of a brand's own boutique as well. So from a Maison's perspective, looking at it from the brand perspective, what does a truly strong retail partnership look like?
It's all about shared goals, vision, collaboration, and trust. If we aren't aligned with the retailer or vice versa, we're both not going to get to where we need to go. You can't build on tailored customer in-house experiences if you haven't got the basics right. And you have to deliver what you say that you're going to deliver. And I think the really nice thing is that we have long-standing relationships with our retailers. And, I can't speak for them, but I would say that they would say there's one thing about Parfums Christian Dior is that it is a true spirit of collaboration, and what we say that we're going to do, we actually do. And it's super exciting to actually see the evolution that we have had with our retail partners.
I'm going to flip it and look at it still from a positive perspective, but when you do see it fail, what's something we can help emerging sort of luxury professionals coming into this space avoid, in terms of the retail partnership and perhaps what you shouldn't be doing?
Yeah, what you shouldn't be doing is trying always to be right. And if something doesn't work, it just doesn't work. And then you then get together to discuss, okay, how could we have done that better? I think to have a mindset of we're always correct in everything that we do is very dangerous, and we have to ensure that we have that, that trust and that spirit of partnership that we're able to admit and then be able to flex and change the course.
And do you feel data and insight plays a role there as a neutral force in that relationship?
Oh, absolutely. And you do it as a partnership. You don't go away into your different camps because you have to agree on what does the data actually say to us.
And in my experience, tell me if it's happened in the beauty world as well. In my experience, I often found in joint business planning sessions was the perfect time to bring in the insight when you were actually shaping the strategy. Usually when you're at the top of your category, you're coming to the table as a category leader and they're coming to the table as obviously a retail leader, and being able to do it in that space makes a big difference.
Oh, look, it certainly does. And, the days of only having a 6-month strategy and just saying, right, and this is what we're going to do to, bring incredible brand presence to your store is well and truly over. There is there's a digital strategy, there is a store strategy, there is a category strategy, and all of them have to be in harmony with each other. And also, there needs to be a point of difference. What is the something that we can do with that retailer to make them shine?
Okay, so let's talk about global versus local. I love this topic with multinational brands. Obviously, Parfums Christian Dior is operating at a very global scale, but beauty rituals, expectations differ a lot by region. And sitting in Australia having this interview, I'm just thinking between, we're often lumped in Asia Pacific, just between Asia and Australia, it's hugely different as well. So being a leader in the market, how do you balance that global brand strategy versus responding to local customers?
We use a word, and I don't know if anyone else uses this, but we call it glocal. And the glocal is, firstly, there has to be, to what you just shared, there has to be a respect, understanding, and an absolute execution of what the global framework is. But then there also has to be an understanding of what are our nuances. We have to be compliant. We have certain standard operating procedures in each country that we have to adhere by. So when we sit with our executive team, it is discussed what are the nuances, what is the legalities of what we need to do in how we can actually express the global framework, so to speak. And that comes through with everything that we actually do, from the store compliance to how the beauty consultant services the client, from the respect and the data privacy of our customer relation management program. And that's how we ensure that there is the respect and the touch points of both. But can I add, I do believe a customer being in a Northern Hemisphere store versus here in Australia, ultimately they should still be receiving the same experience.
Yes, indeed. And I think, especially from my time in L'Oréal, I think the formulations are very specific as well because of the climate, just because you said Northern and Southern Hemisphere, because you're trying to deliver excellence, the brand promise. And when the climates change, some of those things have to adapt as well. Okay, so if we look ahead to the future, as somebody who's worked in this space for a long time and understands all of its revolutions, what do you believe will matter most, let's say in the next 5 years, for people working in the luxury beauty space?
As AI plays even more of a incredible part in all of our lives, the customer experience is going to be of a new level. It's not only about consultation, but it's about how we bring savoir-faire to the customer and how we do that with special clienteling experiences, immersive journeys, more one-to-one personalised consultations, relationships with our beauty consultants that are of another level. That's what's going to make the difference, that there will be a heightened feeling of the customer feeling that they are so special and that the brand can identify with them.
And is there anything you personally are really excited about?
There's so much, Emilia. If I look at the expectation of what we believe our beauty consultant community now needs to deliver, they are business people, they have an analysis, they have a love for retail, they have a knowledge. It's not just about rocking up to work and serving a couple of customers, that they are the business owners and they are the change makers of how we can actually build the Dior community. And there's nothing more, I guess, for me, satisfying is every time we even have a conference to actually hear about the successes and the empowerment of what the beauty consultant, what the manager does to actually bring Dior alive is just so powerful. So the more we can grow, develop, inspire and motivate them, the more we can bring that to our beautiful brand of customers that actually are part of Parfums Christian Dior.
And what about the flip side? Is there any watch out danger zones that you would flag for somebody sort of starting out here?
Yeah, absolutely. Don't just rely on everything digital. You have to be authentic. You have to use it as part of a toolkit, not just go onto this website, or let me show you this on the notebook, or let me, show you this on YouTube. No, it's about how you bring your personalised self. And I guess it's really about, what is your purpose? And your purpose isn't just to be a postbox of regurgitating what is already there. It's how do you tailor it to make sure that the client feels special.
You've touched on a little bit of it there in terms of empowerment, but usually I like to end the interviews with a mentor style sort of closing up. Anybody starting out today, or perhaps they're even in the retail floor or in the beauty section, anywhere across the industry, what advice would you give them for early on in their careers and helping them progress?
Yeah. I'm an advocate for retail because that's my jam, so to speak. But I want to say, use retail to learn about the business. The only way you can become the best at what you want to do is you have to have an understanding of what happens at the retail coalface, and it will bring you a point of difference that you will see as you progress, just how influential and knowledgeable you can become because of what you have experienced. And even with, and I have to say, even with all of our executives, managers, whoever comes into the organisation, we always do on-floor experience with them as well, so they can really see, how does it actually work? How does this get engaged? What is the importance of what I actually do? So I'd actually say to everyone, never think that just working on the floor is something that you do while you're doing your university. Do it with purpose, because it will serve you.
And something I like to ask all of my guests, because it's never linear how people get into luxury, what advice would you give somebody wanting to enter the luxury world?
I actually think there could be a misunderstanding that you have to be of a certain standing, or you have to be utilising or wearing all of luxury apparel to have that aspiration or that communication with that client. That is actually untrue. If anything, it is about having a personal relationship. And I have to say that clienteling is so important. It is about the relationship. I cannot stress it. I cannot stress it enough. So if you want that client to be part of the journey, not just for a year, but for the future, that there has to be a relationship that is built. And it has to be a true connection, not just this customer is like this, so therefore I can sell that. That's not what this is about.
I love it. Thank you so much, Sarah. That brings us to the end of our interview. You've been so generous with your time, and I feel like this has been a true masterclass in luxury beauty retail excellence. So thank you so much for your time and your generosity, and I think there's a lot there for our emerging luxury professionals. So thank you.
Oh, Emilia, thank you for having me, and sincere congratulations on this wonderful program that you have put together, and an absolute pleasure and honour to be able to have this conversation with you today.
Oh, that's so kind. Thank you, Sarah.